Bethesda has a bit of a checkered past when it comes to console performance in their RPGs. The infamous rim lag issue on Skyrim's PS3 version comes to mind, where the game suffered from very poor performance once the player's save file grew beyond a certain size. Fallout 4 had more conventional issues, with generally inconsistent frame rates at launch. Both problems were later patched, but dampened the launch experience, so I came in with somewhat measured expectations for the initial version of Starfield. Testing with the day 1 patch installed, the overall gameplay is surprisingly solid. Starfield basically hits a locked 30 FPS for just about everything you do during the game. Combat is rock solid, as is exploring the various planets. You can throw some pretty intense combat in large, open environments at the game, and it won't register any complaint whatsoever. This applies equally to both Series S and Series X, which perform identically here. But there is one substantial caveat. 2 of the game's cities, namely New Atlantis and Aquila, are prone to occasional performance problems. When running around these areas, we do sometimes see a smattering of dropped frames, including some significant stutter. Most of the time these areas run just fine at 30 FPS, but there are issues for sure. New Atlantis seems to be the most impacted in my experience, which makes sense as it is the largest city area available in Starfield. I also recorded a couple of 1-second pauses, once on both Xbox consoles, while traversing this area of the New Atlantis spaceport. It was pretty egregious, but this was the absolute worst I saw during my time with Starfield. So Starfield performs well enough, especially judged by the standards of Bethesda's prior efforts. Outside of occasional issues in cities, the game delivers a very solid 30 FPS update. That 30 FPS framerate target is probably going to earn a bit of ire from players, but given the complexity of the world as well as the CPU-heavy performance profile of the PC version, I think the 30 FPS target is totally understandable. The motion blur also helps to smooth out the 30 FPS update to some degree, and renders with a high sample count and no apparent artifacting. I do wish that there was an option to lengthen the virtual shutter speed a bit though for a more pronounced effect, as the blur tends to be a bit subtle at the moment. And for those who don't like the effect, it can be turned off in the game settings.